The love of a family is life's greatest blessing, was my parents' favorite quote. They even had it framed in my bedroom and bathroom, so I could see it each time I got out of bed or while staring at my bathroom's mirror. Cliche, I know. I had everything a teen could want: an awesome dad and a loving mom who always created time out of their schedules for me. We didn't have much back then, but I was happy and comfortable. However, things began to change when my baby brother was born. He was born a week before my 12th birthday, and as if that wasn't enough, all the attention and love, or so I thought, shifted to him. On the morning of my 12th birthday, I sat up and waited for my parents to burst in with balloons and gifts, but the door never opened. I then got up and rushed to their room, thinking they were still in bed, only to find my mom fast asleep and my dad rocking my baby brother to sleep. They remembered later at night, after I reminded them that it was my birthday, and they apologized for not getting me anything. My dad said, "Sorry, sweetie, but we have a new baby, and we stayed up all night holding that milk bottle. But we'll make it up to you, Bunny." After another round of reminding him of his promise, my dad grudgingly took me to the park. Which 12-year-old goes to the park for their birthday? I'm not a dog or 5. I didn't want to go to the park, but it was better than nothing. At least, I was glad I was away from the baby's cries. On the way back home, my dad told me about how they had tried so hard to have another baby after me, but it never worked out. "This is a miracle. I'm sorry about how your birthday turned out this year, but things will return to normal very soon," he said. Well, that was a lie. A few months before I turned 13, the family-owned business hit it big and we became rich. We moved to a new neighborhood meant for rich people, and I changed schools as well. My parents became so busy that they would come home when I was asleep and leave before I got up. They got a nanny to take care of my brother, and I only got to see them during the weekends. Like this wasn't enough, they spent more time with my brother during the weekends than with me. My 13th birthday came and the same thing happened. They forgot, blamed it on their tight work schedule, and promised to make it up to me. Only that this time, I decided not to remind them to make it up to me. The funny thing was, they didn't forget my brother's birthday, and it was just a week before mine. The same cycle repeated when I turned 14, and it was then that I realized they didn't care for me as much as they used to. There was almost no happiness in my life until I met Lucas. Lucas's dad played golf on Saturdays with my dad, while his mom loved to go shopping with my mom. Each time they came over, Lucas would tag along. I didn't like him at first because I thought he was a jerk. He was trying so hard to show off, but he kept making efforts to get close to me, and I started to like him. Soon enough, when our parents got busy, we would sneak into my room and spend time together. I loved how he paid so much attention to me and always wanted to do silly things with me. On my 15th birthday, Lucas was the only one to remember my birthday, and he got me my first present in 3 years. I was so happy that he remembered that I hugged him longer than I had hugged anyone in a long time. I felt like I mattered once more and decided to forget about what my parents were doing wrong. I mean, Lucas cares, so I was good. A year passed by, and I looked forward to my 16th birthday. With Lucas, of course. "You should throw a sweet 16 party," he suggested, but I refused. I suggested that we invite a few friends and have fun with them. He bought into the idea, and we started planning for my birthday. A week before my birthday, it was my brother's birthday as usual. He was turning 4, and my parents told me that they were going to throw a party for him, as they always did. They told me that they wanted me to be there, as they had noticed that I was always absent on his birthdays. When it was time for the party to begin, I locked myself in my room and went to sleep. The next morning, they told me how displeased they were with my behavior, but I didn't care. I was glad that they finally felt the same way I had been feeling for the past 3 years. I wish they felt bad enough to ask me why I had suddenly grown cold, but they didn't seem to care, and just felt I was being a normal, rebellious teenager. Ugh, they're so old-fashioned. I continued with my birthday plans, and I couldn't wait to spend time with Lucas and my other friends. He told me that camping would be a good idea since my birthday falls on the school holiday. I liked the idea, but I also needed to get permission from my parents without letting them know that it was for my birthday. So I lied. We were having dinner when I brought it up. I told them that it was a school camp. That had to be the dumbest lie in the universe, as they saw right through it and called me out on the lie. "You do know that we know that's not true, right?" my dad asked. I felt stupid. Not only did I refuse to attend my brother's birthday as they had requested, but they just caught me lying as well. Then my mom mentioned that we were going on a family vacation to the beach house they just bought on some island. What? A family vacation? Why now? I replied that I wasn't interested and they could go without me. My dad told me it was for us to bond as a family for the next week, and he went ahead and gave me 2 options. It was either I went on the vacation with them or I would be grounded till school resumed. Either way, my camp plan was going to fail. I called Lucas that night, crying, and told him everything that had happened. "Why did they mess up all my birthdays?" I cried out. After calming them down, Lucas told me that he would call everyone that we had invited to cancel. Then he went on to tell me that he would tell his dad to ask mine if he could come along with us. I told him that if he could, I would be happy. The good news? Lucas was allowed to come with us, and we left in my dad's private jet for the beach house. The beach house was so huge. It had a big pool, and all the rooms had nice ocean views. The next day was my birthday, and even though I wasn't going to spend the day as I wanted, Lucas was around, and that was all that mattered. We settled in to have dinner that evening when my dad asked Lucas about the school camp. I raised an eyebrow. Were they trying to embarrass me? Lucas looked at me, not knowing what to say. There was no school camp. I made it all up because I didn't want to be. I stopped when I remembered that I didn't want them to know my birthday was the next day. I didn't expect what happened next. My dad insisted that we play hide and seek. He said that it would help ease the tension in the room and that I loved playing it when I was younger. Before I could say anything, Lucas told him that it was a great idea. I looked at Lucas, wondering why he had suddenly switched sides, but he just winked at me. My mom picked up my little brother, and everyone got up to go and hide. I counted to 10 and then started searching for everyone. After about 5 minutes, I found Lucas hiding in my bedroom, and he joined me in looking for the others. We searched for over 30 minutes and couldn't find my parents. I told Lucas that I was tired, and I went to my phone upstairs so I could call my parents when he suddenly screamed my name from the kitchen downstairs. I ran downstairs to the kitchen, and Lucas was nowhere to be found. I started screaming, "Lucas! Lucas, what happened? Where are you?" I panicked and called my parents, but their lines were switched off. I was about to go back to the living room when I saw a note on the kitchen counter beside Lucas's phone. It read, "We have your family and your boyfriend. If you call for help, you'll never see them again. We can see you." I felt cold shivers run down my spine. Was I being watched right now? Who had my family and Lucas? What was I going to do? I had so many questions running through my mind, and I was so scared. The doorbell suddenly rang, and I shuddered. I picked up a knife and slowly opened the door. There was no one there, but a small box with a piece of paper inside read, "Go to the garage and wait for our next instructions. If you leave before we tell you to or try anything funny, you won't see your family or your boyfriend again." Shakily, I walked to the garage. I was almost crying. I sat down, and immediately the garage was shut automatically. The lights came on, and I saw a whiteboard a few steps away from me with something written on it. I walked to it, and on it was written, "You can only choose one. Your family or your boyfriend. Who's it gonna be, Bridget?" How did they know my name? Why are they telling me to choose? Didn't they say that they would let everyone go if I didn't call for help or leave? What's going on? Who could do this to my family? My mind flashed back to all the scary stories I had seen about situations like this, and I started crying. After a long while, I looked at my cell phone. It was a few minutes to midnight. I had been in the garage for over an hour. Should I call the police? Were they torturing my family and Lucas already? Without thinking, I started to dial 911 when suddenly the garage door started to open, and I saw Lucas holding his side with his right hand and the garage door remote in his left hand. I ran to him as he fell to his knees and helped him up. "What happened? Are you hurt? I'm afraid," I said all at once. He told me that he got hurt from fighting off 2 guys that held him captive, and that he tricked them into the woods so he could come get me and take me to where they kept my family before they got back. He said he had dialed 911 already and the police would soon be here. He asked me to take him into the living room as he could no longer walk. With his arm over my shoulder, I made for the living room. As I opened the door and said, "Lights on," I was greeted with shouts of, "Happy Sweet 16, Bridget!" I almost died from shock. My whole family was there on the sofa, and that wasn't all. My friends who I had called to cancel camp night were there. The whole place was decorated, and there was a cake on the center table. I turned to look at Lucas, and he was all right. He had poured ketchup on his shirt to deceive me. My parents started walking towards me, and I ran to hug them. "Happy Sweet 16, Princess. We love you." They told me how they had planned it all along since the day I started planning with Lucas. And they had gotten Lucas to come with us even before I said so because they didn't want me to run away. They apologized for not having enough time for me and promised to do better. For the first time since he was born, I gave my brother a loving hug. My Sweet 16 couldn't have gone better, besides the scary kidnapping part. I told my parents never to pull such a prank on me again, though. This was scary, but everyone put their heart into the planning, and that meant a lot to me.